Hi, it's Alex from Android Central, and this is the Sony Xperia Tablet Z. The Tablet Z is a new 10-inch tablet from Sony, and it's one of the more interesting Android tablets around. A few interesting things about this device. First, the design. It's incredibly light and thin, 7.2mm thick and just under 1.1 pound, so very easy and comfortable to hold for a tablet of this size. Like the Xperia Z, we've got this skeleton frame design which wraps around the outside of the device in this soft touch-like material with a glossy trim in the middle. And just like the phone, the tablet is waterproof, rated IP55/57, and as a side effect you've got these annoying little plastic doors all over the place to protect the various ports. That's a minor annoyance, and the process of installing a SIM card in particular is pretty fiddly. So talking of SIM cards, this is the LTE capable Tablet Z we've got here, which supports European 4G bands, GSM data standards, including DCH SDPA. There's of course a cheaper Wi-Fi only version of the tablet available. Storage wise though, you've got 16 gigs built in, microSD card expandability too. Most of the time if you want to plug anything into the Tablet Z, you've got to deal with these plastic things, but there's an alternative for charging in the form of this charging contact on the left edge, which works with Sony's own charging dock. The overall design is pretty Spartan really. The front is all glass, and the back is a soft touch coating, so it's stylish and understated and has a classy professional look to it. But there's a minor annoyance to do with the way it's designed. Like the Xperia Z, this thing is a magnet for dust and fingerprints, on account of the slight gap between the trim and the screen. The Tablet Z also uses one of Sony's permanently affixed screen protectors, which tends to get gunked up a little more easily than the treated glass used on some other devices. So on the front you've got a 1080p display, and while we're already starting to see smartphones of this resolution, 1080 is still more than enough for a 10-inch tablet like this. Colours are bright and vivid, and there are no issues with wide viewing angles like there are on many of Sony's smartphones, and the Bravia Engine software also kicks in when you're viewing movies and photos to boost contrast, sharpen images and clear up visible noise. We've also been impressed with battery life on the Tablet Z. 10 or more hours of Netflix streaming on a single charge isn't out of the question here, especially when you make the most of battery options, including stamina mode, which disables background data when the screen's off. That's a feature from Sony's smartphones that really comes into its own on a tablet. Next up, the 8MP rear camera. Cameras are usually something of an afterthought on tablets, and no amount of camera technology is going to stop you looking any less ridiculous taking pictures with a 10-inch tablet. But the Tablet Z's 8MP Exmor RS shooter is definitely above average, about on par with the Xperia SP, which uses the same sensor. So you've got the fully featured Sony camera app, which is one of the best out there. You get 1080p video recording, and the 2.2MP front-facing camera isn't too bad either. Looking at the general software, Sony's Android tablet UI shares a lot in common with the current crop of smartphones. It's Android 4.1.2 Jelly Bean, so you're dealing with a slightly older tablet interface with buttons in the bottom left and notifications in the bottom right. On the whole, it's a speedy user experience as you would expect from a Snapdragon S4 Pro chip powering this tablet. You've also got 2GB of RAM, which helps out with multitasking and memory-heavy apps like games. Like Sony's Android phones, you get bundled Sony apps, including the Walkman branded music app, Music Unlimited and Video Unlimited. That means it's effectively preloaded with the entire Sony ecosystem, as well as everything you'd expect from Google Play. Finally, one of the more interesting things Sony's brought to Android is small apps. These are found on Sony phones too. They're windowed applications that can launch and drag around the screen. We've got a notepad, voice recorder, web browser and some other stuff. And there's one for the remote control app which hooks into the IR blast from the front of the tablet. That means wherever you are, you can always launch into the TV remote mode, and there's actually a dedicated button for it down the action bar to make things even easier. So that's a quick look at the Sony Xperia Tablet Z. It's one of the more interesting and more fully featured Android tablets out there right now, and certainly one of the most compelling 10-inch tablets we've seen. It certainly isn't cheap, you're looking at £500 or more in the UK, but as we see it, you couldn't really ask for much more out of an Android tablet. We'll have a full review in the days ahead. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.